And she is this overwhelmed caseworker who's looking around like, I got to do paperwork. I don't know what to do. And she, oh, will you just hold him for a second so I can get some more stuff? And I take this kid, and I do my training. I'm supporting the head and all that, and I take one look at this boy. And that is the moment in my life that I became a dad.
Yeah. What is going on, everyone? Thank you for joining the Family Matters podcast, where we talk about family matters because family matters. And our guest for today is Luke Bourgeois, who specifically is the executive director of strategic partnership at Lamar State College and is also a father of 5, in which 4 are adopted. Let me introduce you to my friend, Luke Bourgeois. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. I'm happy to be here. How's life, man?
It is going good, man. I'm glad that you were able to join the podcast today.
Oh, me too. I've been really looking forward to it. Really excited.
Yeah, we've had some good conversations about it, and I'm really excited about this specific podcast, specifically because of what we're going to be discussing. And, you have lived a life full, and I've heard, and we're going to get into that a little bit, but we're going to be talking a little bit about fostering. That's something that you and your wife have walked through, and in fact, as I mentioned, a father of 5 and 4 are adopted, and they're all a family, correct? Or
so there are 3 that are a sibling group, 1 that is a standalone, and then our biologicals.
That's right. Well, that is a beautiful thing, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. But fostering is something that is one of those things that somebody who fosters, but whenever you actually begin to talk about it, there's only so much that the average person knows. But It's like a whole nother world, if I can say that. I'm not sure
that
if that's...
is not unfair to say. It is completely different. There is there's the Hollywood version of it, and you might watch a movie about it, and that'll show all the fuzzy feelings. But there's a grind in it as well. There's a lot of paperwork. There is way more paperwork in fostering than you would think.
Interesting.
There should be, but there's a lot with activity reports and incident reports and all the things that you have to do to make sure you're in compliance with the state. But it is worth it. To really tell Belinda and my story, Belinda, my wife, mm-hmm. It's more than just the fostering journey, because there's reasons and pathways that God set. And you look at your life and, we have a plan. And I know this is so cliche, mm-hmm. but you have a plan with your life and God has something different. But if he would have given you the choice and said, here's what I got for you, buddy, you would say, no, thank you. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to do that. That is for someone else. But he takes you on that plan one step at a time. And all he asks and all he ever requires is just one more step. Yeah. That's all God ever asks you to take. He never asks you to take 25. He only asks you to take 1.
Yeah.
And so just the next step. So our journey is we got married. Belinda wanted to have kids right away. That kind of cramped my style a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. We waited just a little bit.
Sure.
We compromised and did what she wanted. And so that's how marriage goes. And so we ended up starting to have kids, and family life is very unsanitized. And I joke when I'm talking to foster parents and foster groups, I always say the same thing. Fostering's rated R. It's not rated G, it's rated R, and so it is unsanitized and rated R. So we started to attempt to have kids, and it did not go the way that we wanted. It wasn't easy. We had a lot of trouble conceiving. We paid a lot of money to try to do it naturally. We, in vitro, all kinds of different things, and it just did not work for us.
Yeah.
Years of trying. Over $50,000 out of pocket over a period of about 3 years. Basically, all of our savings, everything is going to this. This is our one focus. And I'm just like, you know what? Cool. Whatever God has for us, we're gonna do that. Let's take a step back. Let's see. My wife, on the other side of that, is absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah.
She is devastated. This is who she wants to be.
Yeah.
This is what she wants to be, and I'm just kind of like, meh, whatever. I'll do whatever's next. I'm in for. And so we started thinking about fostering. That was the conversation. Let's think about this. Let's start to approach different things, and we ended up beginning our fostering journey and we did it through CPS. Now, here's some of the minutia of fostering, some of the details. You can go through different organizations. So there's Child Protective Services, DFPS if you're in Texas, and that is the Department of a Family in DFPS, Department of Family and Public Safety, something like that. I can't remember. So it is basically their CPS organization, and they will train you, they will license you, and they're the ones who are your children's caseworkers. Almost said student because like I'm an educator, but they're your children's caseworkers. They represent the kids. And we did that, and what they did was a little different than another organization. By the way, I'm all for CPS and what they do. It's a really hard job, but I do not recommend going through them directly. I recommend getting a third party such as Buckner, Arrow. There's all kinds of great organizations out there, and here's the reason why. When you work with CPS directly, you, as a family, do not have an advocate. Your children will, but you won't. So if something's out of compliance at your house, instead of it being, hey, let's fix this before your audit, it is an immediate write-up, and now you're out of compliance, and you got to fix it right now. Versus if you worked with a third party, such as Buckner, which is who we eventually worked with, they're like, hey, I noticed your outlet, doesn't have a child lock or child cover on there. Let's go ahead and get that fixed. Do you need some help getting that fixed? Do you need some, some resources here? Here's what we recommend. We have some extra. You know what? I think I've got some extra ones in the car. Let's just put those on right now.
Yeah.
That's the difference in working with that third party, because they're kind of a shield for you.
Sure.
In between CPS, because CPS is still going to come into your house and they still represent the kids, but you've got an extra layer of some help there.
Interesting.
Definitely recommend doing that if you're thinking about fostering.
Yeah.
It's that extra layer. So our first time that we did it, we went through CPS. And we're doing our training, and we get through it and make some friends along the way, because you will connect with other foster parents who have the same heart as you, same story as you a lot of times. And we're in there, we do that, and I'm just not feeling it, man. I am personally not in. I'm like, oof. I don't know. Like some of these stories that we're hearing about in training, that we're hearing about, like, what to expect. It's like, have you ever read that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting? They have versions of that, like, here's what you're going to see in foster care. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to see that. I am not ready for this rated R version of life of, like, young kids not understanding the parental roles. I want a baby. I don't want to raise a 14-year-old who's been abused for the last 7 years of his life.
Wow.
And those are the stories that you hear. Like, I'm not equipped, I'm not your guy, And so we do this, and we did slate our house for young kids. And I remember the first night they give us a call, and they're bringing in our first placement, and it is a young boy. He is 5 weeks old, and he weighs 7 pounds.
Wow!
So he is tiny. He was
and this
born,
is your very first.
Very first. Our wife's, my wife and I's very first child. We have no biological children at this point. Very first child. They're coming in. It is about 7:30 at night. We get this call, and this caseworker's coming in, going to bring this kid to us. It's about 8:30 before it happens. Come in. This caseworker, it is her first day on the job. She looks 14 years old, this caseworker. Wow. I mean, I know she's not. She's clearly has a college degree. She has this baby in her arms. He is dirty, and that milk stuff that they get in under there because you don't wipe in the crevices and all that. You can smell that,
Wow.
And he's coming in. You can see he's dirty. He's tiny. He every bottle that she gets out of his bag has mold in the bottom of it. It is not awesome. And I looked at this kid for the first time, and I have all these angsty apprehensions and these, and she is this overwhelmed caseworker is looking around like, I got to do paperwork, I don't know what to do. And she, will you just hold him for a second so I can get some more stuff? And I take this kid, and I do my training, I'm supporting the head and all that, And I take one look at this boy, and that is the moment in my life that I became a dad.
Yeah.
I was his dad at that moment.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said to him right then, nothing bad will ever happen to you again, son. Like, it just came over me. It was instant. I was like an ogre with a club. You know, I'm gonna protect this kid. I'm gonna take care of him. And I was a dad instantly. We loved that boy. We loved him so much. He had a particular routine. He would get up at around 3 o'clock every morning and want a bottle. Obviously, we couldn't breastfeed because it's a formula baby at this point. And he would start crying. We had the baby monitor. My wife would be like, make that noise. And I'm like, I got him. I'm going in. And I would pop up out of bed. And this was every day. And I would go into his room and I would fix him a bottle and I would get him and we would go sit in my chair and I would just give him that bottle and rock him to sleep, and I would just hold him while we slept for the next 2 hours. Yeah. After I fed him, he was my guy. I did that every day, and I looked forward to that time. Every day.
Yeah.
He was with us about 4 months, and he ended up, going to live with another family. The rights were terminated. It was kind of a rare case where parental rights were terminated, but the foster family didn't get it. He ended up going to what's called a fictive family, meaning he had a relationship with this family.
Got it.
Through the biological mom.
Right,
so he ended up going with a pastor in his family. Great family, by
That's
the way.
amazing.
But it did not help me not to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
It did not help that. One of the number one questions that we get about fostering is, how do you say goodbye? Like, that has to be the hardest part. And let me tell you, it is. I was devastated. I was just absolutely devastated with that. It was one of the most significant heartbreaks in my life. And an addendum to the story, an addition to it, is while we took a break from all this in vitro, we did the CPS training. We became a foster family. We've got this baby in our house crawling around, making baby noises, doing baby things. And in the middle of all that, guess what happens with Belinda? She gets pregnant.
Wow.
And so here we have this baby who is, being born, and my daughter is going to be born, and they're going to be 8 months apart. And I am so excited because I'm going to get to tell all kinds of people at the grocery store, oh, are they twins? No, that's from my first baby mama. That's from my second baby mama. And I think I'm hilarious, but my wife doesn't. But it is that's the story I'm going to get to tell for the rest of my life. So Belinda's pregnant. We've got this baby, and I am cloud nine. I mean, it's like the greatest day to be a dad. And then he gets taken and given to another family. And 2 weeks later, we find out my wife's pregnancy is not viable outside of the womb. She will go to term, she will be born, and she will never come home from the hospital.
Wow.
That's what we're told.
Wow.
And that is within a 2-week period. And I go from the highest of highs to the absolute lowest of lows.
Yeah.
And as a family, and I'm one of those very slow to feel kind of guys. I'm like, well, I'll deal with that later, but right now we've got to do this task, so I'm going to go ahead and get on with this task. And so action is the name of the game here. So I'm just like, how do I fix it? How do I fix it? How do I fix it?
Yeah.
And when this happens, there is nothing that I can do. I have nothing to offer. There is no next step for me. I can't go to my wife and say, well, all we got to do to fix it is, I've got nothing. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
No idea how to make it better for her. Because I know if I've got big feelings, she's got big feelings.
You're right.
Even more so. And I remember we were cleaning out some of the baby's area, for toys, and there was this little tiny desk thing that somebody had given us, and it was just like a toy, but it was made of real wood. And I remember looking at it, cleaning it, and I remember just losing control for the first time in my life with my emotions running away. And then the next thing I remember, my hands are bloody and there are splinters everywhere, and I have just destroyed this thing with my hands because I am so upset and so mad. And my wife comes in, and she's hysterical because I never lose my temper on anything, and she's hysterical. What you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I just destroyed this table. I don't even remember doing it, but like it was those kinds of moments,
Yeah.
significant, pivotal moments in your life that happen.
Yeah.
So, to make the story speed it up a little bit, Aliyah does come to term. She's with us for about 2 hours, and I was holding her when she took her last breath on this earth. And it was a very significant moment in my life
Yeah.
that just made me want to stop. And so when somebody says to me, how do you say goodbye? I know what that means more than anybody.
Yeah.
More than anybody, I know what that means to say goodbye. And let me tell you how I answer that now. Somebody was to come to me, hey, I'm thinking about doing fostering, but I think it would be really hard to say goodbye. I don't ever look back and think about how sad I am and about how that was a mistake.
Yeah.
I only think about waking up at 3 a.m. and giving my boy his bottle and rocking him to sleep.
Wow.
I only think about getting to see my daughter being born and that 2 hours that I did get to have with her in those memories.
Yeah.
I don't think about how, tore up we were afterwards, and we were tore up.
Right.
I can't even begin to describe what that does to your marriage, and people, people are so, they want to help so much.
Right.
And and they're so kind, and just to love on you, especially this church. We were here, and this church just wrapped their arms around us, and people wanted to help, but people give terrible advice in moments like this. They're like, let me tell you, my husband and I, we got divorced when we miscarried. I'm like, well, thank you for that. Like, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And so, and so we're in this, we're doing that, but I know what it's like to say goodbye.
Sure.
And I know, to be, cliche a little bit, it's exactly like the Garth Brooks song, The Dance. Like, you don't look back and look at all the regret. You look at the good stuff that there was.
Yeah.
And that's really where you let your heart stay, and you're thankful for those moments.
Yeah.
To know that my daughter lived the best possible life on this earth that she could. There was not a second she wasn't loved. No one ever spoke to her in anger. She was never a disappointment to anyone for her entire life.
Wow. Thanks again for watching, and remember to watch next week's episode of part 2 of Luke Bourgeois' story. You will not want to miss it. And remember that your family matters. God bless you.